I wanted to talk about the Cenk story, okay? For anyone who missed it, Cenk from the Young Turks, you might know him as Hassan's uncle. Recently, they removed Francesca, one of the few people that actually called out the Young Turks within the Young Turks.
I don't know what went on at TYT, over the 10 years that
Francesca was a contractor.
Francesca was,
no benefits.
a contractor there. I do know, only because I have firsthand experience about it, that Cenk was completely lying in his characterization of what went on with he and I. I mean, I sort of couldn't quite make out exactly what he was saying. But I will be absolutely clear about this. Cenk and I, in October of 2016, went and had a drink at the Tord conference that I would go to. And in Las Vegas, he invited me for a drink because he wanted to ask me, and this is specifically said, what can I do? And I should say at that time, TYT liked to pretend like it was some type of network, that it was not a network.
Denims is streaming.
We basically we were basically TYT's client. And for, I think,
Generon, thank you for the 10 gifts. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Denims, did you already cover Ethan being all giddy at the potential existence of a sexual assault victim? It was disgusting, yeah. We talked about it only a little because it was just so gross. Like, to sensationalize that, because you can cover these stories and you should cover these stories. I think, especially if you have a platform where you want to utilize your platform for good, it's important to cover these stories and give these people a voice to talk about these things, especially when they're going after public figures that have the potential to do harm. I think it's important when people come out about these stories to give them that platform and to let them speak about their issues. There is a big difference between that and sensationalizing a story because you don't like someone and pretending like what they did is worse than what they did because you need to get as many sound bites as you can. It was very disgusting. It was the framing of it was just like, I wanted to puke. It was so gross. It was so disgusting. So yeah, anyways.
I think it was 20% of our YouTube revenue. They would do all the optimization. We were too small of an operation to do it. And so they would do it. And occasionally they'd put our stuff on their Facebook page or something. And Cenk came to me and he said, but he wasn't my employee. He wasn't
employer
or employee or any of it. And Cenk came to me and said, what can I do to tamp down this feud with Jimmy Dore? And I was like, fire him because his politics suck. And I think Cenk accused me of wanting to call him names. I had a problem with Jimmy Dore on his TYT show saying it didn't matter if Peter Thiel was on the Supreme Court. And then subsequently, when I invited him on to discuss it I was very measured about it until he started acting like a jackass. I said, hey, dude, we could end up with Donald Trump appointing 3 Supreme Court justices.
Dude, I love that. That was like, I think that was the moment where I became a Majority Report fan. It was the conversation that he had with Jimmy Dore where Jimmy Dore pretended and he had like this fucking dumb fucking look on his face where he's like, you don't actually think that. You don't actually think that we would get 3 Supreme Court justices. I would put money that the moon would fall out the sky first. Who the fuck is Jimmy Dore? Don't worry about it. He's a weird crackpot, like far. I can't even pin him. He's a grifter.
Yeah.
And Jimmy's response was, oh, we could also have the moon fall into Lake Michigan.
You're trying to manipulate me with fear.
Exactly.
Right. And I think Roe v. Wade was also the subject, and that was basically him saying that it's more likely that the moon falls into Lake Michigan than Roe v. Wade gets overturned, and look what happened.
That was back in the day when he acknowledged 3 Supreme Court justices as a bad thing.
Right. Yes. I mean, sort of vaguely. And that was it. Cenk wasn't reprimanding me because if Cenk had tried to reprimand me, I would have told him to eat my arse.
Right.
There was no reprimanding. I don't remember when we left TYT, but it was basically when we decided I don't need them to optimize anymore. It wasn't because he fired me because I was calling Jimmy Dore
I didn't even catch that.
Garbage or whatever it was. They were upset when we left because we were just paying them money for stuff that we didn't need to really do. And so that was it. And, listen, Cenk is upset because he got 20 million from, Katzenberg, and he had gotten a couple of million before then from Buddy Roemer.
And who knows how much that paid.
Well, yeah. But I'm saying he got all this money invested,
right? And
they blew it. They blew all the money.
They what?
They didn't know what they were doing.
Sorry.
Cenk at the time was desperate to be seen.
He was desperate to blow. Sorry. I'm immature. I'm a small child. All right. I am allowed one sexual joke.
Saying like he wanted to be on in airports. And I'm like, dude, you got the biggest YouTube channel. That's going to be the future. And so he was very aspirational about his business. That's fine. I'm very much like 1,000 flowers bloom.
Absolutely.
But the idea that he's talking about like somehow he doesn't like to get into name.
Denims, is that Sabra hummus? No, it's like some other company. A friend brought it for snacks for poker night.
Calling. He, a month and a half ago, was calling me all sorts of names. Now,
Low rank grifter.
frankly, I don't care.
Right.
Apparently, he's very sensitive to being called, but we're going to do something here. Program right now. I would like everyone in this office, you can do it off the mic, to call me a bitch, and let's see what happens.
Wait, can I just wait? Are you going to remove me from the show?
Well, I guess we'll find out.
You're a bitch.
Oh, God. Oh, God. This is so contrary to the community we're trying to build here. Matt?
I'm supposed to insult you?
Yeah.
You stutter a lot.
No, you're supposed to call him a
Whoa,
bitch.
that one cuts a little close to the bone, buddy.
Use a bad word.
Listen,
Asshole.
take it easy.
I see up in
Listen,
here.
the point is that that Cenk is looking for everyone to blame but himself for his current predicament over there. And we held off for a long time and took a lot of criticism for it, for not critiquing what was going on over there. Because largely, I'm not that interested in policing people, but some of the stuff they started to do was really, really bad, and so that's what we started addressing it, and they're lighting themselves on fire over there, and that's all well and good, but they should do it in a way where they're not telling lies that are easily debunked. Now, just because there seems to be a desire to sort of like have all the things out, I just want to tell one other story, because Cenk and I didn't have a tremendous amount of interaction over the years. I've known him since he was on Air America, and I filled in a couple of times, I think, on TYT, 15 years ago or something like that. The one thing that I really struck me in the one sort of like behind the scenes interaction I had with Cenk was at one point, and I had looked it up when, I don't know when exactly this happened. It was during, I think, the first Trump administration. I could look it up again in the emails. I was invited to a meeting with some of like the Google, or I think it was Google, government liaison people. And it was me, Cenk, and two of these people. And they were asking us about potential hearings on antitrust that Google might face. And I remember saying, with all due respect, I like the fact that, we do make money on YouTube. I appreciate you people. I do think that Google should be broken up into many pieces. And they were like, okay. And I was like, and there's a growing antitrust movement. And I really do hope they're successful in pulling you guys apart. I don't want you guys to lose your jobs. And I don't think you will, or whatever, but I just want you to know that. Cenk was not only so dismissive about it, I do specifically remember, he goes, well, I've read Matt Stoller. I will testify on Google's behalf in front of Congress. Now, it was both hilarious to me that Cenk thought that would be valuable to them.
I mean, didn't Cenk run for president and talk about running for president? like this is Cenk we're talking about. Okay, I don't know if he could win the unk off, I'm gonna be honest, all right? I don't know. Cenk's delusions are pretty hilarious. He gives big best friend of the main character vibes, if that makes sense. Wait, Aiden Ross was just unbanned on Twitch. Dies of cringe. Dies of cringe.
A little delusional.
Yeah, the delusional part, I've always sort of understood.
Amusing, yeah.
It always, was part of Cenk's charm.
Yeah.
But I was like, this guy, where are this guy's principles? I mean, I remember the first argument we had on air was about Bill Clinton back in 2008 or 7, because he thought that Bill Clinton was one of the good Democrats, because when Bill Clinton was in office, he was literally a Federalist Society member, a Republican, and lawyer. Now,
wait, this was the account that was banned? Oh, well, this one only has 180 followers, right? So it can't be this one. Unless I'm wrong. Fell off. Shut the fuck up. Check the Twitter. I mean, I saw this. Aiden Ross could receive an unban on Twitch soon after being banned for 2 years. With the new Twitch TOS, he's now eligible to reapply for a reinstatement of his account. I mean, I don't see anything. I think this might be fake news. I mean, I don't see anything. I saw people talking about it, but I was like 50-50. I was kind of skeptical since like, oh, this is like breaking. Aiden Ross has now been unbanned on Twitch after 2 years. Wait, this is like actually breaking. When an account is unbanned, it takes a while for the follower count to go back to the previous numbers. I mean, I'm checking Twitter and all these people are reporting on it 1 minute ago, 3 minutes ago, 4 minutes ago. Man, yay. We brought another one. Yay. We brought another zealous right-winger on the platform again. Yay. I know Twitch was like, well, at least they can't call us anti-Semitic because he's Jewish, which means that he can't be anti-Semitic. So it's okay for us to unban him. The ADL says it was okay because he's Jewish. I'm Brian Kilmeade. It would be really funny. Like, it would actually be such a power play on Twitch's part if on April 1st they unbanned him again. They were like, just kidding, we were never going to ban you or unban you. That would be like the dopest thing Twitch has ever done. I'm not going to lie. This is so wonderful. I really love this. I really like this a lot. I can't wait for him and Asmongold to collab. It'll be such good content. Can we go back to making fun of Cenk, dude? Fuck.
I love converts, and sometimes they have the zeal of converts, but over time, if you are untethered to some type of like fundamental ideology, what happens is when you hire people, for instance, you don't even know what to look for because you don't have that yourself. And so you can hire people who walk in and go like, oh, these are the principles I believe in, but if they can't articulate them in a way that hits your understanding of why you have these beliefs, they could turn out to be a Jimmy Dore.
Right.
Or a Dave Rubin.
Right.
Or an Anna Kasparian. Or a Michael Tracy.
Brianna Wu.
Or a Brianna Wu.
Who's still on the payroll, I guess, but not Francesca.
Ben Gleed.
Yeah.
I mean, all these things can happen.
Yeah. Right. Or honestly, I think you can also see it reflected in the way you treat your employees, right? Like with the efforts to bust the union.
Oh my God, the union busting was so gross.
It was. And even at the time, I received a call from somebody high up in the network asking me not to speak publicly about it. I was young. I kind of have regrets about that I should have spoken up a little bit more publicly, but I was also not making too much money and trying not to rock the boat, but it was a part of the decision that I made, to leave. But it's also, I think, kind of evident in the way that he decided to do this kind of 30-minute monologue criticizing Francesca, who never, there were opportunities for them to hire her full time, to give her benefits, to value her labor. And instead of doing so, they just kept her on as a contractor. She took a check from them, sure. But then to make a whole show out of banning her from the network and doing this video about somebody who has very little power. You are the employer. She is the employee. She's the contractor. And to throw her under the bus like that, especially when her show has like a fraction of their subscriber count, I really do think it speaks to the workplace environment.
Caroline has commented several times she's never going to forgive Cenk for the way he treated Hassan and Will when they were employees. I mean, yeah, they're the Young Turks, they're liberals, right? Like, do they have things that they claim are leftist positions? Yeah, of course, but like, they're liberals. They benefit from a capitalist society and they want to continue to benefit from a capitalist society.
Becoming more and more evident for people here.
I am the left.
And I will say, like, this is going to be the last segment that we do about this kind of drama.
Like, they did a whole video on this. Despite the fact that she's not an employee, she's just a contractor. They did a whole video. Cenk explains why he's removing a contributor from the Young Turks network.
Recently, Francesca Fiorentini asked us at TYT to take her podcast, Habituation Room, off the network. And we happily agreed to that. And today, I'm going a little further, and I'm going to take Francesca off the network entirely. So you won't see her on any of the TYT shows going forward. So I want you guys to know why I'm doing that and how.
Oh my God, 11K. 11,000 people like this and 7.5 thousand people dislike this.
This whole situation isn't really about Francesca. It's about TYT, our community, and what we stand for. And so We're for open.
This is a good explanation, I guess, of the people that they're trying to appeal to, right? So like you can see some of these comments. This one, bad choice, go back, ask her back. This is like leftists, right? Leftist positions that are saying, or leftist people that are saying, hey, arguments between the left are not necessarily and always a bad thing. We can get to better positions as long as the arguments amongst the people on the left are in good faith, which is what was happening there. They've always been in good faith. Francesca has never criticized anyone in the Young Turks in a bad faith manner, ever. At least not that I've seen. If someone would like to show me something that she's done that has been in bad faith, you can show it to me. I will amend my opinion or my statement. But from my understanding, she's always operated in good faith when talking about Cenk, when talking about Anna. And then here's the audience that they want to appeal to. Cenk, good for you setting boundaries. That lady talking so disrespectfully about you as her employer is beyond wrong. As her employer. Like these are people, these are capitalist liberals who want the capitalist structure that if you are the employer, you're allowed to get away with more and the people under you have to be bitch made because you have is beyond wrong, all because you have a different view. That's part of why people are leaving the left. No one wants to be a part of a group that acts crazy and hateful. And then the next one. I mean, what is Cenk other than a little bitch? He started throwing trans people under the bus. I don't know how much of the original video they play, but we can watch it together since we've gotten lubed up by the Majority Report on some of the lore. Thank you, Backpage.
Minds and open hearts. And so I want all of you to know that, and I want to build a community that believes in that and invites people in that believe in the same things.
Sort by top comments. We'll do that in a second once we've watched a little more of the video.
And by the way, if you don't believe in the same things and you say, no, I have a strict ideology and I have no open mind about that, no problem. There are tons of shows out there for you guys. So first of all, we've had some disagreements, I certainly have, with some of the far left, but I think they've been relatively
some of the far left.
Small, but if you think that they've been large, no problem. So they've been around the issue of crime. Did crime rise between 2019 and 2023? Well, that's a fact, it did. But it's okay, we could have different interpretations of it, that's not an issue at all. We certainly are against police abuse and we've fought against it, I would argue, at least as much as any show on the planet and perhaps a lot more. And I take great pride that Benjamin Crump, among others, said that Trayvon Martin would not have gotten anywhere near the national coverage that he did if it wasn't for the Young Turks. So nevertheless, we could have disagreements about specific policies.
This guy said something nice about our show.
Policy issues, and we do on slogans and framing, etc. For example, defund the police, Latinx. These are normal disagreements within any community. And I certainly would never want to shut that down because we're, again, for open minds. And of course, we've had some disagreements on the issue of transgender rights. Let me just say quickly what my position is, because a lot of people outside of the network have been misleading you about this. So I'm for 100% constitutional rights for transgender Americans because why? They're Americans just like the rest of us and they should have the same exact rights as us. They should be protected in bathrooms, they should definitely be allowed to serve in the military, and I happen to think that they
Sorry, there's something very funny about saying they should definitely be able to serve in the military.
should be allowed to play, transgender girls should be allowed to play in girls sports in high school. Now, my position on that is not overall popular in the country. I understand that and I have a strategy for hopefully how to win on that in the long run, but I don't believe that they should be mandated to play in college and professional level. I think the league should get to make those decisions on their own. I think that that is a small disagreement. Obviously, others think that's a giant disagreement, but that's, again, not the issue here. I think what the issue is when others...
We have to go back, sorry.
I think that that is a small disagreement. Obviously, others think that's a giant disagreement, but that's, again, not the issue here. I think
that's not the issue. Okay, guys, the Cenk is here to tell us what is and wasn't.
What the issue is when others, among the issues, is when others say only my opinion is the correct one, the moral one. Everyone who disagrees with me is unintelligent, immoral, collaborator, etc. Well, we'll get to the specifics on Francesca in a second. I'm saying that generally. And that they speak for the left. Well, let's find out if they do speak for the left. This is a little bit of Francesca, a little bit of Emma Vigeland from Majority Report, and spliced in.
Oh, really?
Is the actual facts about what the American people think, and interestingly, what Democratic voters think. First, let's watch this.
I'm a big Messi fan. So, but let me just explain this
Answer
to you.
my question. Would you allow him, if he said I'm a woman, to play in the American way?
Yes, right now. Hell yeah. Are you kidding me?
Which, let me clarify, by the way, Will Max, let me clarify, by the way, that unless you're a fucking idiot, you understand that when Francesca is saying what she's saying, she's also saying, of course, he would need to pass the same testosterone tests that cis women have to pass when they enter women's sports. Of course, he would need to take whatever hormones he needs to take to help him transition. That, no, actually, you can't just say that you're a woman and then suddenly start playing in those sports, and we already currently don't use those standards. Well, again, unless you're a fucking idiot, you understood what she said when she said that. You understand what she's talking about when she says this. Also, using Messi of all people is very funny. Transphobes pretend those don't exist? Yeah. She never said that. She said if you identify, you're misunderstanding. He asked her if she would be open to him playing in those sports if he identified as female. Or, sorry, not female, as a woman. The reality is she's not saying he should compete as is in that moment and only just because he identified. You still have to pass the tests that currently cis women have to pass to enter in those sports. She's saying he should be allowed to, of course, as long as he passes whatever regulatory tests they have to go through. She's not saying, no, he should be allowed to play as is. She's saying he should be allowed to. Again, he can go through whatever testing that you have to go through to enter those sports. Again, just like any other person entering any other sport. That would be like saying, oh, do you think like Mike Tyson, if he identified as a woman, he should be able to box women? And it's like, well, yeah, again, he would still need to pass whatever boxing criteria he would need to pass in order to box against women. But like, you still wouldn't put him against like a featherweight. He still needs to pass the criteria that already currently exist in sports. There's a big difference between allowed to and without restriction. Also, I always think it's funny when people talk about trans people in sports because they don't have like literature that backs them up on any of these things that proves that like trans women are objectively across the board better at X, Y, and Z sports. So they just say, obviously a trans woman's going to be better. This is common sense, people. And it's like, oh, so you admit that you haven't done any research on this? You admit you don't know what hormones, what HRT does. You admit that you haven't looked at the countless research papers that we have that seem to show that actually taking hormones negatively impacts your ability to engage in sports and that trans women are actually at a disadvantage, that trans people are at a disadvantage, that the bone density thing is a total myth. You just feel like it's this way because it seems to make sense in your world that it's this way, because you're making an appeal to common sense and you don't actually have anything to back it up. And when you actually look at, what was her name? I think her first name is Alana, but I think she was an MMA fighter. Alana Laughlin? Someone can please talk about it. Or sorry, someone can correct my pronunciation. But I'm trying to find like her pre-transition photos and her post-transition photos. Like, this should be the biggest evidence and the biggest proof that you don't understand what transitioning looks like within the realm of sports, and you don't actually know what hormones do, because if you did, you would know that a lot of the advantages that you might have or that you will have as a cis man versus a cis woman are diminished once you no longer have the same levels of testosterone in your body. Look at how much muscle mass she lost. And when you talk about allowing trans women to fight, people in their like puny brains are like, so you're saying that this person should be able to fight any woman, this person on the left? It's like, no, I think that the person on the right who meets the criteria, who is within the weight range, who is within acceptable hormone levels, yeah, I think that person should be able to fight.
Godalana looks great there.
I agree. Most cis people don't even know how HRT works. Oh yeah, someone mentioned it. But the coolest thing about this is that the tattoos still look so sick in the before and after, which is crazy. Because I feel like that's the one thing I would be worried about in this context, that like, oh man, I'm going to shrink and then the muscle mass loss is going to warp the tattoos in a way that's not going to look good. Oh man, I really hope it doesn't warp poorly. And then it actually didn't. That's dope. But again, the problem is the bad faith framing, right? That's the problem. The problem is the bad faith framing. Like there's no intent to like actually engage with these issues on a reasonable front, to actually talk about what allowing trans women looks like And it's very easy to be like, can you believe these crazy liberals? They just want this photo on the left to be able to beat up women. And it's like, what? No. Just because I think that doesn't mean I don't think that they should pass whatever tests they need to pass.
I suspect it won't be the last segment we do about their takes.
Right.
Because literally every other segment we've ever done about them has been about a take.
Right.
That we think is...
Sorry, I didn't mean to play this video. I meant to go back to playing this video.
Transgender female athletes in women's sports, only 18% of the country says that they should be, in fact, allowed to participate in women's sports.
Your argument is really bad.
It's such a stupid, also, that's such a dumb, oh my, well, only 18% of people in the South think that slaves should be free. Like, what? What the fuck? Just because a lot of people think something doesn't mean it can't be wrong.
Bad on this and you're out of your depth. You're correct that trans women should be able to compete in women's sports, but your argument for it is just scientifically and factually incorrect. I'm actually not bad about this. I'm 100% right on this. I don't give a the scientific
common dub. This is the Chad moment.
Explanations. People, if they identify as a woman, get to compete in sports. If that's not fair in the short term for a variety of little competitions, I don't give a
And I mean, my goodness gracious, 79%. You rarely get 79% of the country to agree on anything.
Because the societal interest of including trans people in society trumps stupid competition. Full stop. So I'm right about this. You're wrong about this.
You'd let Lionel Messi play in the women's national football team and destroy women's football forever. You'd let Usain Bolt...
it'd be very difficult to get a ticket, which would suck.
I want to do a little checklist.
It's also really funny because when you think about the fact that the Daily Wire ended up making a comedy movie about this. It was called Lady Ballers. We watched half of it and then I couldn't handle it anymore and we stopped watching. But originally they wanted it to be a documentary. And they were like, we're going to put some people and we're going to take some cis men, tell them that they're trans, like tell them to tell other people that they're trans, enroll them in these sports competitions to show how woke everything has gotten. And guess what? Surprise, surprise. They tried to do that and they ran into too many sports committees that were like, oh, okay. Unfortunately, first you do need to undergo hormone replacement therapy. You do need to prove that your testosterone levels are low enough to compete. But sure, you can definitely compete as long as you pass all the medical tests and you fulfill and you provide enough paperwork for it. And they were like, well, we're not going to do that. Okay, let's find something else. And they went sport by sport by sport, and they didn't actually want to do it. So they were like, we'll just make a comedy. Because they literally couldn't find a single sports committee that would allow a cis man to just say that he's a woman and undergo no form of HRT, undergo no medical testing. Saying you would be okay with allowing this person to enter that is very different from saying you would be okay with allowing them just as is right now, perfectly fine. Because that wouldn't be reasonable, but it's very easy to pretend like, your opponents are all unreasonable. I actually found it.
Approached me and you said we should make a fictional film about this topic. Now, to be fair, I think I'd actually suggested to the Crane Boys that they do this as a doc.
Yes.
I originally went to them and I said, you guys should go try out for a bunch of ladies' leagues. And that became not possible because, as it turns out, most ladies' leagues don't allow in actual men. And they weren't willing to go the full distance in terms of what it would require in order to, the actual hormone treatments and everything to play in some of the ladies' leagues. But in any case, it turned into this. So explain.
What a shocker.
Well, I think the thing that you have to understand is that I was getting ready to leave the country to go make our Pendragon series on July 9th. And somewhere about mid-March, I thought, wouldn't it be...
But we already know this because people like Iman Khalif that exist right now, where there's no record of them ever having been reported as male. From birth up until adulthood, they have been, by all medical paperwork, female. And those people have to go get tested. They have to get their testosterone levels tested. It already exists now as is that if your performance is potentially too good or you are too masculine looking, or sometimes even if you're not, depending on the whatever particular sports committee is involved, you have to get your hormones tested. You have to get blood work done. We already have this now for women's sports, regardless of trans people. Trans women would just be subject to the pre-existing testing that already exists, maybe a few more. Black women have been affected the most. Yeah, I mean, this has been happening to black women in sports for a very long time. Black and brown women for a very long time, where it's like, oh, this person looks like a man, we need to make sure. And it's like, okay. Williams sisters. I mean, people used to speculate that Serena Williams was a man for how many years? Again, they already do testing. They already do this. We would be saying, yeah, if Messi wanted to transition, yeah, he would, again, also be subject to the same standardized testing, same blood work, whatever, hormone testing. He shouldn't be disqualified just because, what, he's a cis man and that's it? Like, or within this context or within this conversation, that he was previously a cis man? Like, what? That's
be great if between today and July 9th, we wrote and produced an entire feature film. And so, yeah, the Crane boys mentioned the idea that you had given them, and it had been in the back of my mind that, you know, we really should be making the movies that only we can make. In fact, I think it's a line that you had come up with. You know, what are the things that only we can do? And so I thought, well, obviously, there has not been a true comedy made since Barack Obama became president. I mean, Barack Obama destroyed 3 things: rock and roll, comedy, and America.
Huh? When did he, okay, I've heard the destroyed America thing a couple times. That one I get. Rock and roll and comedy. I must have missed those patch notes.
When the president destroys rock and roll and comedy match.
I guess I missed that one. Oh, do you know Caster Semenya? Yeah, yep. She's another good example. I don't have a good segue for this, but I had to see it, so you guys are seeing it now.
Obama DNM slay.
Do you like it? Do you guys like it? Oh, I didn't see this part. Oh, that ending was so nasty. Oh, I hated that. Oh, I really didn't like that ending. Oh, that one made me uncomfortable. Oh. Okay, all right, sorry. We're back to the video.
Here, you'd let Usain Bolt compete as a sprinter in the American women's Olympic team?
Yes.
Okay, you would let Floyd Mayweather compete as a boxer in the women's American boxing team?
Opposing them in women's sports. You get 67% of Democrats, so 2/3 there. You get 64% of independents.
I like how Francesca just keeps saying, yes. Yes. Yes, actually. Actually, yes. Breaking my lurking streak to say that ruined my day. I'm sorry. Sorry.
You get about 2/3 there.
So I'm right about this. You're wrong about this.
Okay. I like how they play those Emma Vigeland clips to be like, look at the crazy woman. Oh, look at how crazy she is. She's so passionate about trans people's rights. Doesn't she look crazy? It's like,
generally speaking, if you want to say that you're right about something, sure, everybody has their own opinions and it's their opinions. That's why they think that they're right. It's another thing to say that you speak for the left. As you just saw there, 67% of Democrats have a position that is actually to the right of mine. I say that trans girls should be allowed to play in girls' sports in high school. 67% of Democrats say no, not allowed in any women's sports. So I'll work on my Democratic brothers and sisters, and I'll try to get them to my position on that. Nothing wrong with disagreements. And if Emma, Francesca, and others can convince 79%
nothing wrong with disagreements
of the nation that is opposed to that to come over to that side, fantastic.
Nothing wrong with disagreements. Fires you.
Happy to have it, okay? So I think where the issue comes in is when things get personal. So we got 3 rules, generally speaking, on air here at TYT that are relatively bright lines. So one is, and I say relative, I'll explain that in a second. One is no lying. 2 is no threats of physical violence.
Streaming. Funny number 420. Thank you for the 5 gifts.
And number 3 is don't denigrate personally the other hosts in the network over and over and over again. And I say relatively bright lines because it should be relatively.
I'm assuming he's gonna play her clips of like her denigrating the hosts of the network.
Easy to follow, but I get that people have disagreements about, hey, what's a lie? You know, are what they say about crime stats a lie or not? No, I'm not gonna nitpick that. And we get into heated debates from time to time, me and Ben Glebe in the past, me, Ben Mankiewicz, me, Michael Schur, etc. And I love those debates. And somebody might cross a line and say something they shouldn't have, but we usually hug it out. And so I'm not nitpicking here. What we're looking for is, hey, are we all rowing generally in the same direction, or are some of us drilling holes in the boat? And so are you doing it over and over again on purpose to try to create an issue? Or even if you're not trying to do it, you are creating an issue by constantly attacking our own.
I like the constantly attacking is just saying, I disagree with your positions here, and what you're saying is transphobic. He's talking about it like she was making fun of his hair or something.
Applied this 2 other times, which I'll tell you about in a minute. This all started, unfortunately, when I went on Francesca's show, and we had what seemed like a normal conversation and debate about this issue until it made a turn. And this is part of the turn. Let me show you.
I'm reminded of the book by, I think his name is Michael Schneider, on tyranny. And he wrote, it's like 20 lessons from the 20th century about authoritarianism and fascism. And one of the things that has come to mind when you say, my strategy will protect us, is he has this chapter, I'm gonna bring it up, the first part of it, called Do Not Obey in Advance. And he writes, most of the power of authoritarianism is freely given. In times like these, individuals think ahead about what a more repressive government will want, and then offer themselves without being asked. A citizen who adapts in this way is teaching power what it can do. In other words, you don't have to do the sort of crackdown on the left around speech because I'm gonna do it for you, or you don't have to come to me.
Cracking down. Again, you're misstating it. I'm doing the exact opposite. You're cracking down by saying, Cenk, you're out of bounds, so you should stop with your stupid opinion. And because you're implicating me.
I can't believe that a guy who I used to admire and who I thought had a lot of fight is trying to scratch the back of people who absolutely would never do the same for them.
So we just spent an hour and a half of me explaining how I'm not scratching their back. I'm trying to get
but I can show you more clips,
to agree
man.
with us on things we believe in and we've always believed in. And you go back to scratching their back.
At least the trains will run on time.
Damn, wait, she was kind of eating. Wait, she was eating. She was eating. She was eating. Let her eat. Let her eat. Hold up, wait, gagged, cooked, fried. But that was that's just maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this is like the Arab brain in me where I'm used to me and the people around me that are close to me arguing. As long as you do it in a way that's still respectful and you aren't engaging with, again, what the other person is saying in bad faith. As long as you are not engaging with what they're saying in bad faith, like you're actively misrepresenting their positions, unless you're doing that, which obviously, fuck you. What? Also, chat, you guys know the drill. I need my Manchurian candidates to wake up and pump it. You guys know what needs to be done.
The train's running on time, presumably a reference to Germany. I'm the collaborator, and I'm scratching the right wing's back by having.
I mean, more realistically, it's more that the trains run on time is more generally about allowing things that are important to slide under the radar and pretending like there are instances where the end justifies the means. It doesn't have to necessarily be directly related to Nazi Germany. You could be talking about, Mussolini. You could be talking about a variety of things. But more importantly, it doesn't matter. It's more about the sentiment of you can't just ignore all of these things. You can't ignore all these important things and just say, well, we solve a couple comforts or whatever. You can't. Trains run on time is just liberal rule-based order bullshit. Precisely, yes.
Having my opinion, the opinion I've always had, an opinion I've had for years, and you guys have seen for years on the show. But if you don't agree with Francesca in that particular case and some other folks in the extreme left, well, you're not allowed to have that opinion. That is immoral by definition. And how dare you disagree with them? That makes you a right winger, a collaborator, et cetera. But if you say, hey, Cenk, look, I know that she's quoting someone, collaborating with an authoritarian government and saying that that's what you're doing and you're helping the right wing, and that she's not open to the idea of, hey, maybe there's a different strategy and a different opinion on this that gets us the same result, protecting trans folks or whichever topic we're talking about. Okay, if you're not, and at that point, I certainly hadn't done anything.
He didn't say that. No, he didn't say extreme left. No, I hallucinated that.
Winger, collaborator, et cetera. But if you say, hey, Cenk, look, I know that she's quoting someone, collaborating with an authoritarian government and saying that that's what you're doing and you're helping the right wing, and that she's not open to the idea of, hey, maybe there's a different strategy and a different opinion on this that gets us the same result, protecting trans folks or whichever topic we're talking about. Okay, if you're not. And at that point, I certainly hadn't done anything. I think that was,
Does he think Hassan is the extreme left? I think he thinks Hassan is the extreme left.
I didn't appreciate that, but that's okay. We kept going, and she's been on the network since. Then she started to
Also, like, dude, that's like that is one of the least aggressive disagreements I've ever seen. Like, it gets straight to the point. The only thing is that she's not, literally, the only thing that she's doing is just not holding her punches and saying, no, I disagree with you, and I have the right to disagree with you, and I think what you're saying is bad and wrong. And I think it's a slippery slope, and we shouldn't head down that path. She didn't even insult him. Like, she didn't even go in on him. Like, I don't even understand.
More and more and more, and it got more and more personal. So after that discussion,
he said as much at Thanksgiving every year.
Happened.
I like that we can both be very Mediterranean about it and get like super mad, but then rein it in and be cool and then be like, we're like, yeah, we're just gonna yell and then we're gonna be fine and then we're gonna get over it. So that's the kind of beer I like to have.
Yes. Thank you.
2 days later.
I mean, I have my own thoughts on like why he's doing it. I think, if you think your brain was broken by the 2024 election, I think we're looking at a case where someone's brain was broken even harder.
Okay. So, but look, guys, if she had said that about another host,
she did kind of eat, though. She did.
Probably would have drawn the line there. But it's about me, so I wanted to give more leeway. My brain is broken. And by the way, that's still, okay, the first time she's getting super personal. Collaborator, maybe that's a political opinion. Now we're a broken brain, even though we were supposed to have a beer and we were supposed to hash it out and be okay afterwards, but apparently not okay afterwards. But then that was the tip of the iceberg. She continued again and again. Here's the next one.
I do think it's sad that even though they allow people like us into the fold and the fray, they refuse to learn from us or listen to us. And I think that when you have been doing this work for so long, and you still cannot grasp the idea of intersectionality, how race and gender and class all intertwine with one another, and how the fascist goal is to divide us based on these lines. Like, I don't know like who you are. Like, I don't even know if you're smart. You know what I mean? I don't even know. First of all, I don't know who your political mentors are. I don't know who you look up to. I don't know what your touchstones are. I don't know if you know your history in terms of like civil rights, women's rights, gay rights struggle in this country. I don't know anything. I call into question all of that. It sounds like you are just an opportunistic mouthpiece who wants clicks time and time again.
Okay, so
she's kind of going in a little bit. She's kind of going a little crazy.
Obviously, it's getting deeply personal there. Opportunistic mouthpiece, can't grasp simple concepts, not smart. But guys, and I'm not angry. Look, people have different opinions and they want to make it personal. It is what it is, right? I'm more sad about it. I'll say something at the end about that, But to me, the attitude that is toxic, and that's what I don't want at TYT. I want to build a community that is really open.
But like, so he's ignoring the context that this is after years and years and years of like trying to talk about these concepts in a way that's empathetic and trying to push him slightly towards the more, I don't know, accurate direction. And you're not being responsive. Like, at some point, I think you turn to different strategies and say, dude, like, this is a dumb position to hold. This is stupid.
To conversations is they refuse to learn from us. So the idea is, well, obviously I'm right and the only moral center of the universe. And I already told him that, and this guy wouldn't even learn from me. It's just such a deeply arrogant thought that if someone disagrees with you, they need to be re-educated. And maybe they haven't read any books at all. Okay. Did she stop there? Of course not.
And yes, as I told Cenk, I do feel very implicated. I have felt implicated by their takes, specifically around crime and policing in years past, definitely by this new heel turn since Trump's reelection, and absolutely by the misrepresentation of the Los Angeles fires and who the responsibility lies on. It is enraging, to say the least.
That's it? That's it? That's the scathing? She's saying I don't feel super comfortable with me being implicated, but I want to say because I want to convince you that what you're saying is fucking dumb. That you're accusing homeless people of starting the fire just based on pure speculation, when in reality what this ends up usually being is like some fucking transformer that catches on fire or some wiring that's loose because of the heat, and then the wires lower and then they spark and they cause a forest fire. Like you literally were the one accusing homeless people of having started the Palisades fire.
Those fires are not the responsibility of the mayor. They're apparently the responsibility of Republicans, or I don't know. I don't know what her thought on that is, and I don't know why she's enraged.
And yeah, cutting her from the Young Turks is one thing, but he shouldn't have made this video because it just makes him seem way worse than just business and making a statement about her. Well, yeah, so like I think what people are criticizing is not that like they have these fundamental disagreements, and these fundamental disagreements cannot be sorted. And because of these fundamental disagreements, it is harmful for both of them separately because it implicates her in these positions as someone who works with the Young Turks. And so she has to feel like she wants to, she has to speak honestly about how she feels because that's how she wants to run her show and her podcast, right? And so when she wants to speak honestly, which she speaks honestly to him and to her audience. She speaks honestly to her audience by saying, yeah, I think he's becoming brain broken and I disagree with a lot of these positions, which is very, like, if that's enough for you and you're like, clearly we have too many fundamental disagreements, it's probably for the best that you don't work with us anymore, that would be fine. I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. I think, okay, you want to run a specific show with a specific leaning politically, maybe you shouldn't have people on who severely disagree. Okay, fine, sure. But to make this whole video and make it sound like some fucking takedown instead of making a polite video over like the course of a minute and saying, hey, or even just making a post and saying, hey, we split amicably. I think politically we've gone in slightly different directions. And this is probably, I think this is the best thing for both parties. Okay. But like a mini content nuke on one of your employees because the meanest thing that they said was like, I think your positions are brain broken, and accusing homeless people of having started the fires is insane. Like, really? That's why you did a content nuke on her? A mini one? I'm here for known streamer Max Left Denims. It's true. I'm the most left you can get. I am. Is he about to cry still? Hassan and the Young Turks split for somewhat similar reasons, and they didn't make a whole video about it? Yeah. Well, it's because, like, again, he feels like, and probably the Young Turks feel like it's a particular form of disrespect against them. That, like, we hire you, we pay you, and you're, like, shitting on us. And it's like, but she still has the right to have, first of all, she's not an employee. She's a contracted worker, for starters, okay? So she's allowed to have her own network and her own shit that she talks about. She doesn't owe you utmost respect and, like, to defend you. That's not what you pay her for. Has he done a single video punching right since the election? I mean, I'm sure he has, but I don't really keep up with the Young Turks that much.
By that, but that's okay. Apparently, I've taken a hit.
After the stuff with Anna Kasparian, it just left such a bad taste in my mouth. I really haven't touched any of their coverage at all. The Anna Kasparian anti-homeless people thing, and then the trans birthing person thing, it left such a bad taste in my mouth because I don't think inherently either of those are bad positions. It's that multiple people politely tried to educate her and correct her and tell her like, hey, like, whatever, we're not even trying to educate you. We're just trying to say, like, this is how our perspective and this is how we feel when you talk about these groups this way. And she just wasn't having it. She just didn't care. Like the birthing person thing, like there's so many people that spoke to her and tried to like explain their perspective and she just didn't care. Or like, again, like homeless people, right? Like, is anyone here in disagreement that there are homeless people that are experiencing extreme mental distress? And because of their situation and because of the mental distress that they've experienced in their life so far, for however long they've been homeless, they might be more violent. Yeah, I would be in a pretty bad mental place. And I would be having mental breaks pretty often if I've been homeless for any period of time. It would be worsened based on the amount of time that I had been homeless. But of course, it's a very traumatic experience. It doesn't mean what the homeless people did to Anna Kasparian is right. Of course not. I'm sure it was a very traumatic experience for her, and I wouldn't want that to ever happen to her or anyone else ever again. But the solution is not to fucking jail those people. Are you kidding me? The solution isn't to make homelessness about being that it's a personal failure and you need to fucking arrest all these people. Are you kidding me? Like, that's a joke. Like, that's so disgusting. It's so dehumanizing, and it doesn't fix the problem.
Heel turn. By the way, all those...
Yes, we need to put all the homeless people into the melting homeless people pot. This will fix the problem.
Folks, not just Francesca, but others that told you we're right wing. You watch the show every single day. You see us criticizing Trump and Elon Musk over and over and over and over again, telling you how they're going to do a $4.5 trillion robbery in those tax cuts. Yesterday, we talked about how they're already, hammering Social Security and costing good Americans, what they need from Social Security, how they're going to cut $800 billion from Medicaid, how there's a series of robberies on the way, et cetera. But it's okay, let's just simplify things and say anyone who disagrees with us a little bit is a right winger. But the good news is,
but she didn't even say that.
Is at least Francesca will not be implicated anymore. And I never understood that because she's been saying this for a long time now, that she was implicated by us. then why keep taking a check? And it's not a big check. And Francesca has had, a career before us. She talks about that. Of course she did. And she'll have a career after us. There's no problem with that. So why, if you think we're collaborators and we've taken a heel turn and we're working with fascists?
Because there's such a thing as like having respect for a person and respecting someone's intelligence and feeling like you can convince them. And it's a lot easier to convince someone when you are in the in-group than when you're not, right? Evidently, you haven't responded very well. Neither you nor Anna Kasparian have responded very well to outsiders criticizing you. Her perspective was most likely, maybe I'd have an easier time convincing them if I could show them that I'm not attacking them, not trying to be their enemy. Their positions are bad.
Why did you choose to get implicated with us all these days? But good news, no longer implicated. Believe it or not, she did not stop there. This is now another show. Watch.
So Cenk's line up until this point has been, no, it's at the collegiate level and above. I think once you get to the college level and above, that's when it's bad. So he would be on board with what the NCAA said recently. But you're so dumb. I don't even know how to explain it.
Sorry, I'm toxic. How does your thumb bend like that? Sorry, I'm like double jointed. I'm a double jointed freak. That feels good.
You anymore, unless, this is the other option, unless you also are a transphobe. You know what I'm saying? Unless you also are kind of a misogynist.
Because if you disagree with Francesca or anyone on that part of the spectrum, well, you must be a misogynist.
It's just so dishonest, dude. I have no words. I have no words, dude. Like, chat, I'm misogynistic, okay? You're misogynistic, all right? I don't know how to tell you this, chat. You live in a society that is misogynistic, and it is impossible to remove every aspect that exists in your brain that is sexist. We make 26-minute content nukes on ex-employees, not misogynistic. It's just, but it's small things that you might not notice. In the same way that like what they say, a lot of the stuff that they say is transphobic. I'm sorry. When you do not provide an argument as to why, other than, well, people don't agree with the position of allowing trans women into women's sports, so we shouldn't hold this position because only 20% of Americans agree with this position. Like, you're throwing those people under the bus because you don't think it's a favorable position to hold.
You must be collaborating with the fascists, and obviously you must be unintelligent. Now, if I had called her dumb, I wonder what her reaction would have been. My guess is nuclear, but I didn't call her that because we have a disagreement. We have a political disagreement. You don't need to make it personal. Not done yet, one last one.
What has it got you? What did it get you?
Sorry, low-key, this video is posting your own else. I'm sorry, low-key a little bit, like, sorry. How dare you call me misogynistic? I'm gonna exclusively watch Asmongold now because you hurt my feelings. No, wait, please come back. Don't leave, you're so sexy.
When you go and share a stage with Dr. Phil, what did it get you? Nothing. You know why? Because you look like a bitch. You know what I'm saying? You look like a bitch. That's what it is. Like, that's just what it comes down to.
You could not make me post this video, dude.
You don't look like a fighter. You don't look smart. You look like a bitch. That's just the reality. I've tried to tell it to you nicely. I've tried to tell it to you cordially. I've tried to tell it to you on your show, on my show, on every show. And so either you A, are a bitch, or B, you actually agree with the right. And I'm starting to think, in fact, I do think it's the latter.
Which is exactly what I said. Exactly what I said is she's tried already in so many different ways to be cordial, to push him on these positions in a nice way, and it hasn't worked. So maybe you should go a little bit more extreme. Maybe it takes a more harsh criticism to get someone to see, oh, you feel very strongly about this.
Okay. So again, if I had called her that would have been a different situation, right? But
I can't believe Cenk's defense on so many of these things is, oh yeah? Reverse the roles. Not so funny now, is it?
Look, guys, also on the policy or the strategy, when you go talk to the right wingers, first we did that, and I mainly did that, and there was a lot of blowback saying, don't ever talk to the right wing, but they won the popular vote. How are we gonna win back the voters if we never talk to them? If we don't win them back, we can't ever win an election. And that doesn't mean the far end of MAGA. It means independents.
Yes, reach out to the right wingers. Yes, give them Donald Trump light.
That voted for Trump, and maybe some right-wing populists that voted for Trump. But now I've noticed that that faction is now saying, well, I mean, of course we should talk to the right, but we should only yell at them, or we should only accost them. That seems like a really productive conversation. And if now I guarantee you they'll say, no, I don't mean just yell at them, but just like build coalitions. As Francesca said recently, apparently she's changed her mind about being a collaborator, but not with Trump voters. Well, who would it be if it wasn't Trump voters? Those are the folks on the edge of the middle of the spectrum that we got to bring to our side.
We're just straw manning. This is just so disingenuous. I don't have words, man.
Convince them that the populist left is right. Not necessarily a populist right, or parts where we agree, hey, great, let's work together on that. So who are we building coalitions with if it isn't the other side or people who voted in the other direction? And if we talk to them, what are we doing? Only screaming fascists in their face? Or are we having a human conversation? So look, this is not an attitude that I agree with. Again, there are other shows that love what she's saying. And no problem, to each his own, it's a free country. Go and love that and yell and scream and do all the things that you want to do. But do you think that after you do a joint appearance with Dr. Phil or anyone else, that the very next day all of MAGA is going to show up and go, oh, I changed my mind. You're absolutely right. No, this is a gradual process where Americans begin to talk to one another and start to learn about each other and start, oh, that's what you mean. Oh, that's how you perceived it. And we begin to have human conversations until we understand each other. Again, if you don't want to understand them and you don't want to do that, plenty of other shows. So she said, I tried to tell him nicely. Did you? Did you? Because I might have missed that part. All right, guys, you get it.
I like how in this video there are examples of her trying to talk about these things nicely.
Now, look, there's two other times that I enforced this rule. One was when Sam Cedar was doing it to Jimmy Dore, and they were both in the network. Sam's show was nominally in the network as part of our YouTube partner group, and that's what we were doing early on. And I was happy and thrilled with all the folks that were in it before, and then we stopped doing that since then. So God bless, no problem with that. And in terms of Sam and others leaving at that point, at different points from that network we were trying to set up. But while they were in the network, I said, Sam, you can disagree with Jimmy all you want. And in fact, I agree with you on that, on the policy you're criticizing him on. But stop doing personal insults. You're doing like personal insult after personal insult. So I talked to him about that. He wouldn't agree. He loved the personal insults. He wanted to keep going. And apparently that's a thing that he does like, and that's what he likes to do every time, apparently. And so, okay, that's Sam. And
oh man, dude. Oh man. It's so fucked up too, because all of these people that he's complaining about have been so generous to him and so patient with him and have tried so many times to like talk to him about it. But at a certain point, you look like a fucking cuck to your audience, being like, no, don't worry, he'll change. He's a left winger. Like, audiences aren't stupid. Like, communities aren't dumb. People can see that you're fucking holding water for someone who has no, like, you don't have a reason to be holding water for them. And people can tell when you're being inauthentic because you're trying to like save your friendship with someone, or because you're trying to hold water for someone who doesn't deserve it.
But we did enforce it before. And then ironically, the second time we enforced it was against Jimmy Dore when he was doing it to Francesca. And he'd called her an effing liar, and he'd called her, and he said that she was a paid shill, which is a classic go-to move for Jimmy. Although he misspelled it paid chill, which sounds pretty nice. And I said, Jimmy, you can't do that. Ironically, he's the only one who actually apologized and said, I won't do it again. And he apologized to Francesca. Francesca apparently thought, great, I'm allowed to do this, but no one's allowed to do it to me. Anyway, you guys get it. So I don't, like I said, I want everybody rowing in the same direction because we're trying to build something here. And why do we want to build something? Because we want our movement to be strong. We want our message to get out there. We want to win over those voters because the bottom line in all of this is eyes on the prize. You've heard me say that year after year after year. What's the prize? The prize, by the way, note to other online hosts, is not more subscribers. The prize is passing bills because those are the only things that affect.
Oh yeah, and how exactly has it been working out? Because I feel like the neoliberal positions haven't been winning us elections, haven't been getting a lot of bills passed. I feel like the capitulation and the understanding and the talking hasn't really been doing what it's supposed to be doing.
Our voters, our audiences, their actual lives. Let's pass paid family leave. Let's pass Medicare for all, higher wages, etc. And I hope wherever you are on the left-wing spectrum or the middle or wherever you are, I hope that you agree. And I hope that we all work together in trying to pass those bills. So please, eyes on the prize. And so look, I'm gonna show you two charts here for a reason. Some Media Matters did this chart recently. You guys, some of you might have seen it on air. And it has the right-wing shows online in red, and it has the left-wing shows online in blue, okay? What we did there, and I hope you can see it, is we put a little bit of a green circle around the TYT show. So the Young Turks is right next to Rogan. We got 12 million subscribers, one of the largest ones in the whole chart. But Rebel Headquarters is also on there. Damage Report is on there. Indisputable with Dr. Rashad Ritchie's on there. And when you put them together, that's 18.8 million. And it is one of the largest presence in online media, period. If you include our alumni, people that have been in part of the TYT network in one way or another throughout the years, then we're—
This is girl math. I'm gonna be honest. This is kind of girl math a little bit. Like
30.1 million subscribers with the way that Media Matters does it. Today, actually, when you include all the platforms that we're on, some of which Media Matters did not count, we have 27 million subscribers. Now, why do I tell you that? Because guys, we're trying to build something. Fox News has dominated discourse in this country for at least 20 years, almost 30 now. And they've made an enormous difference, and I think for the worse, for the much, much worse. We're trying to build a network that makes a difference for the better. But by the way, you don't have to agree with us, and you don't have to say, oh, well, okay, then great, and we should help you and support you. No, you don't have to do that. Build something of your own. Instead of being destructive over and over and over again, how about you be constructive? And you say, hey, Cenk, I don't like the way you guys are doing the TYT network. And I see that you've had this huge success and you've given rise to other progressives that are now having success. And it seems like you helped to build something for our side. Well, you know what though, these days I don't agree with you. So I'm gonna build something larger. Guess what? I would love that. And whether you build something larger or not, you built, let's say you, instead of building a media company or a media show, you built a platform that actually got Democrats elected, but progressive populist Democrats like Bernie Sanders, Ro Khanna, etc. And then they got those bills passed. Oh my God, I would love you for it. Please do that. Build something positive. And that's what we're trying to do here, okay? So, and I don't say this just for Francesca, and the reason I'm doing this segment isn't just for her or to explain what's going on, but I do want to be clear with you. It's mainly to tell you what we stand for. Not just the media end of it, not just the hosts, but as a community. We all have to be open-minded and open-hearted enough to get these things done and push forward. So, look, last thing is, I wish Francesca well.
I'm so sorry, but like saying all of this and then ignoring Hassan is very funny.
She said those things, and I get
feel
it.
Like I'm a therapist listening to my client lie to my face. Stop! Stop! Stop!
We've got bad feelings these days, but all the power to her, okay? If she can convince the country to be on her side on all these issues, even the ones we disagree on, terrific. Go try that. Try to make that happen. And no problem, happy to have it. Like she said, good career before, I'm sure she will afterwards. You can go check her out wherever she is. So I don't have hard feelings, I'm not angry, I'm just done with it. I want a positive atmosphere here where we fight for you guys. And we do that.
Why you want a positive atmosphere. That's why we did an entire mini content nuke on how awful Francesca is.
And in all different ways. So if some hosts have a different idea on how to do it, great, let's have that conversation. We've had that conversations, those debates, those discussions, so we can get to the right answer and so we can help you guys decide what you believe instead of what we believe. So for folks who don't want to be part of that, bless your hearts. Go get them, Tiger, okay? But for folks who think, yeah, that's a great idea, and I'd love to pass the things that are in your populist plank. 6 incredibly popular policies, higher wages, anti-war, etc. Get money out of politics. So if we can do that together, whether we disagree on some issues or not, wonderful. But whatever you do, please row forward. Please be mindful of others that are, in this community. Care for each other, love each other. And let's try to be positive together. And let's go build something as we always do. Love you guys. We'll be right back. Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.
Every time you follow this channel and subscribe, Mayor Ket gets a treat. And that is true.